Hi, I'm Amanda Webb, and welcome to Her Time, Her Place. This is a podcast about women stepping into their moment, owning their place, and sharing what it really took to get there. In each episode, I'll sit down with women from all walks of life to explore the turning points, the moments of doubt, the decisions that changed everything, the people who showed up, and the lessons they've carried forward. Because so many of us have been told, or have quietly told ourselves, that it's not the time, it's not the place, not yet. This podcast is all about questioning that, choosing it anyway, and discovering what's possible when we do. Let's go. Hello, and welcome to Her Time, Her Place. I'm Amanda Webb, the host of the podcast, and today I am joined by Lou Wardlaw, the chair of One in Five, a wonderful not-for-profit organisation, and the founder and principal of Grounded Together. Welcome, Lou.
Thank you, Amanda. Absolutely lovely to be here with you this morning.
It's great to have you with us as well. Now, Lou and I have known each other for a number of years from our experience of meeting up through Explore. Today, we get to hear about Lou's journey with her portfolio career. I was thinking about how I would describe Lou, and my words for Lou are joyful, optimistic, and resilient. And I'm sure some of those things will come through in our conversation. So, Lou, as we do with Her Time, Her Place, I'm going to hand it over to you to tell us the Lou Wardlaw story.
Excellent. Well, thank you again. So I guess my career story, that's what I'll focus on. Going back to when I finished school, I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And that was very much reflected in the number of different university degrees that I started. So I started out doing an arts degree, then I moved into personnel and industrial relations, and then into a business degree and then arts business. I was a bit all over the place. And then I took off overseas, traveling for over a year through Europe, as many people did back in the early 90s. And when I came back, that was really the beginning of my, I'd say, sort of my career story. And the plan was that I was going to work for 3 months to pay off some credit card debt. And so I got a job as a receptionist at the Telecommunications Industry Ombudsman. And within that 3 months, I became particularly interested in that sort of area of dispute resolution. And an opportunity came up that was in the investigations team. And I decided, I didn't decide, it was actually that I saw that one of the prerequisites for the job was a university degree. So I didn't apply. That was kind of, it was definitive for me. My boss at the time came and approached me after the deadline had closed and said, "Hey, Lou, did any chance you applied for the investigations role?" And I was like, well, no, I can't because I hadn't completed my university degree. And she was very much, well, no, we all want you to apply for this role. So that really was the springboard for my starting career in dispute resolution. So I went on to successfully move into that investigations area. I stayed there for a number of years. It was at a really exciting time. The telecommunications market had just been deregulated. Internet service providers were kind of a new thing. So we had 800 new members, and I was promoted pretty quickly within the organisation there. So I think one of the lessons that I learned from that was to back yourself, and that whole sort of needing to tick every box, challenge that. And you don't actually need to tick every box when you're applying for a role. So I learned that very, very early on in my career. I was at the TIO for about 5 years before I started my very lengthy career at Transurban. And throughout my career, one of the key features has been people. So people are the thing that give me energy. Supporting people, leading people has been the theme throughout my career and my life, really. When I look at my life and the different experiences that I've had and what I love doing, it's connecting with people. My career at Transurban, I was there for 24 years and in the customer area. So starting out in dispute resolution and then moving on to actually leading hundreds of people across geographic locations, leading the customer service division for many years. And throughout that time, I think, the thing that I had was a lot of people who believed in me. I was very much driven a high achiever. I always wanted to, meeting expectations has not been something that I've sought to do. I've always sought to exceed expectations, to try and be sort of outstanding. But the common thread throughout my whole life has been the desire to support people, help people develop and realise their potential. And it was during my time at Transurban that I actually had the opportunity of doing an Explore program, Explore for Success, that Amanda is the CEO of. And one of the activities that we did was looking into the future at what you wanted to do in your future life. And I had specifically written that I wanted to deliver programs like that and become a coach, which is where I've landed today, which is pretty exciting. So that's the career trajectory that I've had. Yeah.
It's amazing. There's so many things in there that I do want to pick up on. I love that early knowledge of yourself around, I didn't know which degree to do. I was jumping here, I'm jumping there, because you are interested in lots of things and curious as your nature. So that doesn't surprise me when you say that. I can imagine you going, oh, this, oh, that. And you're good at lots of things as well. So it sounds a bit like Lou.
Yeah, absolutely. I think curiosity and a love of learning and picking up new skills, I think that always stretching myself and challenging myself and beyond my comfort zone, recognizing that's where sort of growth occurs. And I've always been really interested, not just from a career perspective, but just interested in people, interested in different cultures, travel. So that travel experience, whilst I wasn't completing my university degree, I was gaining some incredible knowledge about different cultures, and that lust for travel and experiences stays with me today.
Yeah.
I guess one of the important things that I didn't mention there, which is really important, is that back in 2001, I lost one of my brothers, Matt, and that was a really defining moment for me. I very quickly wanted to do something positive in response to losing Matt, and it wasn't just me, it was me and my family and his friends. And we got together and we created One in Five back in 2003. So I've always had my corporate world plus this social impact part of my life has been there for since back 2003. And it's a really important part of my life today.
Such a big thing at that time for you, and the legacy that you have created around that for 20, how many? What are we now? 22 years?
23 years. So
which is
it's
amazing.
been, very proud of that.
Yes. And that dual, multifaceted life that you now have, and that lived experience from travel and all of those skills and that exposure you've had that lends its hand to you being able to step into that chair role there and caring for as the, steward, I guess, of the organisation whilst doing a big job. So that human-centred Lou comes back all the time in all the facets of what you do.
Yeah, it certainly does. And as I was sort of preparing, I do a bit of reflection on my life. I try and do that on a regular basis. And a little story that I'll share is last year we lost one of our greatest family friend. Her name was Liz Harris. And just a few months before she died, she sent me a photo that she'd found of a letter that I'd sent her when I was 7 years old. And it's a child's writing, very clearly a 7-year-old's writing. And it was sent to her after I'd spent a weekend away with the family. And I'd said, dear Liz, thank you for listening with your heart. And I said, loving and caring for others is life. And I think that little girl is it's what drives me today as well. So I think I've always been, so I sort of look at how am I who I am today? I'm still that 7-year-old little girl that, loving and caring for others is life. And it's been reflected in my career and how I've led people, but also where I am today.
Yeah. I mean, that little girl, my God, how wise was she, right? She didn't need a university degree, I'm thinking.
Honestly, when I see those words written, I think, wow, how did she come up with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so powerful. I'm going to pick up on the non-completion of your degree because that's what it is. It's just something, but people often go, did you go to uni? Well, I went to university, but have I got a completed degree? No, I don't. But I've got all these other experiences along the pathway during my life. And that for you at 7, you're writing loving and caring is life. There's already this, unknown to you, unconscious journey that's ahead for you, which I think is so powerful. In fact, I think that's going to be the name of this episode. That's pretty easily done. I know that our era was a little bit different to today, but I still see young people thinking that, oh my God, a degree is everything. And I know that for many professions and career paths and for visibility and opportunity, that makes a lot of sense. I totally get that. But there still are people that end up with wonderful careers and lives that have done it another way, through another pathway. And you're a great example of that. I just think it's important for people, or any younger women that might be listening to this, and men for that case, that if you've got interests or things that you are passionate about, there are other pathways that can make this happen. And you had a point in there, Lou, you said, back yourself. I had written down, you don't always have to follow the rules, because the rules said on the job ad must have a degree, so you didn't apply. So you're following the rules, but others that were your advocates and sponsors came and said, where's your application? Get it in. So your lesson was back yourself. And you all said, sometimes you don't need to tick all the boxes. And that is so true about applying for jobs as well. Like, we know the research shows us that, generally speaking, men are likely to apply for a role if they've got 60 to 70% of the attributes and requirements of that role. Women are not likely to apply for a role if there's one thing they're missing, like a degree, even if they've got everything else. So there's some lessons in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, that was something that I even still, that not finishing my degree, I did 4 years of study at university and I just didn't go and finish it because my career also took off. And it was like, well, I didn't think I had the time to even go back, and I didn't have the inclination to go back. And I sort of think to people out there that perhaps don't have a degree, it's really about playing to your strengths. When you're playing to your strengths and you're doing work that you love, you'll generally excel at that. And my experience was very much that. If you're playing to your strengths, so find what you love. And for me, it was leading people, and it continues to be working with people. Find what you love and you'll grow from there. Career paths aren't linear, and you don't necessarily need a degree to be successful. And it's all also going to depend on what your version or what your definition of success is, which is different to different people.
That being your definition of success, not society's, not everyone else's, but what is it for you?
Yeah, that's right.
This note-taking, writing notes for you is also a thing. So I find that interesting because the research tells us handwriting is a very good skill to continue. So for those who are journalists and write notes, it's a good thing. There is some research out now that shows if we do handwriting up to 15 minutes a day, we can ward off dementia. So I am actively doing that. But what I like about your story, Lou, is that little note that you sent to Liz back when you were 7, but also when you did the Explore program and you were doing the exercise. I think it's probably the cross of life when you have to talk about what does the future look like, which is a handwritten exercise with some visuals built into it. You talked about wanting to be able to do workshops and coaching and things like that, writing that all down, documenting that, it's preserved. You've probably still got it in the journal from back then. And I do know, but today, what does today look like? Because I know you're doing some of that work with us at Explore, but what is it that Lou does? You're chair 1 in 5, but you've also got grounded to your own business. So tell us, what does today look like?
So today looks like a world where I'm in a portfolio career phase of my life where I have a number of different roles that give me enormous meaning and purpose. So the first of those roles, I now have the privilege of being able to lead 1 in 5, which is a not-for-profit charity, as you mentioned, Amanda, that we fund medical research into mental illness. So I work for 1 in 5 a couple of days a week. I'm also a mother, and I'd say in terms of the greatest leadership lessons that I've learned in life, it's been that of the role of a mother. And both of my daughters have experienced fairly significant mental health challenges that they are comfortable with me sharing. So when I say that, I have their blessing. And that experience that I had of supporting them through that whilst working, having a really busy corporate career, made me sort of recognize the importance of looking after yourself and caring. And often carers, so people who are caring for loved ones who have significant mental health challenges or substance use challenges or are going through complex life challenges, often they are forgotten about or they're not looking after
Mm.
themselves, which was definitely the case for me. So I saw a real gap in that space, and leveraging my coaching skills, I founded an organization that's called Grounded Together just under 12 months ago. And so I provide coaching and support to carers of those people living with mental illness, substance use challenges, and other complex life challenges. So using my lived experience, my
Mm.
also my corporate experience plus my coaching experience, it's kind of bringing it all together, and it gives me enormous satisfaction, just enormous satisfaction being able to work in that space.
As I have shared with you when you started Grounded Together, I can't think of anyone better to be supporting other carers who are supporting people going through those challenges with mental health. You absolutely have had, well, a life's worth of situations to manage and roll through and guide through, and current now. And that loving and caring is life mantra of yours just keeps coming back, doesn't it? Like, this is the work that you were meant to do. And for the rest of us, we're so fortunate to have people like you, but to have you here to do that work, because it's not for the faint-hearted. You have just like this huge capacity to hold so much for so many. It's such a unique
Yeah.
makeup skill approach. I don't know what,
Yeah,
it's just
and
big.
I don't know whether it was whether, it's always been there. So it was a little
Yeah.
seven-year-old girl. When
Yeah.
I was 4 years old, there was an accident at home and I lost the sight of my left eye. So that experience was, I believe, pretty formative in
Mm.
terms of how my parents and my family responded and reacted to that situation was extraordinary. Like, they were very much, it didn't stop me from doing anything. It was a really tough experience to get through, but there was a lot of hope and optimism, and it sort of shaped me in the early days. Like, I did experience schoolyard teasing, all of those sort of experience at a very, very young age
Mm.
that built some inner strength and resilience in me that I took through to my
Yeah.
life. And then all of these challenging experiences that I've had, I look at my parents, and when I think about the people who shaped me, so I lost another brother who was also one of my closest friends in life. He was 42, Mick, and he died from cancer. And I look at my parents, and they're both still alive, and how they role
Yeah.
modeled
Yeah.
positivity and hope and still finding joy in life despite unimaginable
Mm.
grief. That has definitely played a part in who I am and how I'm able to get through stuff and what I'm able to offer
Yeah.
people.
That's so insightful. What a journey for your parents. Yeah. And
Huge.
and your
Yeah.
family do live life like joyously. I've been to one of your big 1 in 5 events where there are hundreds of people, and the celebration that you make that, and your family are so joyous, and it seems like they're making the most of life. Like, they are playful,
Yeah.
but holding everything that has been there, but forward focused on what contribution can we make? What can we do to support others who may go through what we've been through? And how do we make it, a little bit easier, or put the systems or support or care scaffolding around them?
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on that we try and find joy, we celebrate life. We are so conscious of the fact that it can be taken away very, very quickly
Mm.
and it can be short.
Yeah.
And we also have the privilege, I sort of feel like I have the privilege of I don't struggle with mental illness. So I have the ability to celebrate and see hope
Mm.
and be hopeful, all of those things. So
Yeah.
I certainly, yes, I'm able to choose it.
Yeah.
For some people, it's not an option,
Mm.
but as a collective family and a lot of our friends
Yeah.
have chosen to just find joy wherever we can
Mm.
because of the fact that we've experienced such loss.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like you say, you can choose it, not everyone can. And even
Yeah.
being cognizant to that is a big thing, right? When we're
Yes.
playing in the mental health space. And that is
Absolutely.
a difference. I'm like you, I don't have mental health as a challenge that I personally need to manage, and I make choices around that as well. Yeah.
Yes.
But there are conversations that I end up in sometimes with people that think that for all of us it's a choice, and it's certainly not. And that's
No.
some of the education work that you've done as well in 1 in 5, and I'm presuming that's part of the coaching that you would do with Grounded Together.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a thread that comes through in all of the
Mm.
work that I do currently.
Yeah.
And the thread of hope and optimism and joy and the importance of finding joy in life and the special moments every
Mm.
day. I practice something that I share with others, which is when things are really, really hard, I try and look for the lovely. So I've got this thing where it's called looking for the lovely. And you can just go for a walk for 5 minutes. And I take photos of things that I see that are lovely. And that can, when you're in a crisis situation, and I've been in many, I continue to be in many. And that practice, it's a
Mm.
mindfulness activity, but
Yeah.
it's a really simple thing that I do each day where I go and find beautiful things and beauty is it's unique to the individual,
Yeah.
but it's a really powerful way of just bringing you back and going, there's still some good stuff out there.
Mm.
There's still some beautiful stuff out there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
That's a lovely practice. I'm thinking around strengths as well. I'm guessing appreciation of beauty and excellence is high for you.
Yeah, it is. It is. My number one strength is kindness, and it's something that I need to always be conscious of
Mm.
the overplaying kindness and what that can actually result in. I think in that space, that self-care and my story of in 2018, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and that period before that diagnosis, I was doing in the corporate space. It was kind of a 7-day a week job, looking after contact centres, 7 days a week that were open, until early in the morning, until late at night. I had challenges in terms of managing complex mental health challenges at home. All sorts of things were going on in my life. And what I wasn't doing was I wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't exercising. I was eating rubbish.
Mm.
And what I learnt when I had that cancer diagnosis was that self-care is something that shouldn't be treated as a
Yeah.
reward for good behavior, but instead it's actually a responsibility that we have to look after ourselves. And that was a really powerful lesson that I learnt in terms of, yeah, the power of self-care and it really turned my life around, even though I wouldn't, I wish that I didn't have to have breast cancer
Mm.
for my
No.
life to turn around, but it really did turn
Mm.
around as a result of that.
Yeah. That is the flip side, isn't it, of that kindness strength? Because
Mm,
caring is a part of the kindness strength. And that if we overplay it, yes, we can therefore miss out on that importance for our self-care, managing our own
absolutely.
well-being, and also the compassion that we need for ourselves in those moments as well.
Yeah.
So that's a really good message for people if you are in that caring role, which we know can be 100% consuming, it can be depleting. We've got to
Yeah.
be able to manage ourselves through that process, which I know that you are pretty good, like because you excel at everything you do and you always want to be outstanding at things, you are now at the gym,
Yes.
doing certain competition-y things to be the best
Yeah.
and winning. I know that you like that as well.
I do. There's a competitive part of me, and I compete with myself, but I also sort of
Hmm.
like to climb the leadership ladder at the gym. And I do. It's again, I think, for people to actually find one or two like non-negotiable things that they
Yeah.
do for themselves every day. My
Yeah.
thing is boxing, which I just love.
Yes.
But those
Mm.
those small things that you do each day can just be the difference between you kind of crumbling
Yeah.
or being able to put one foot in front of the other. So
Yeah.
those rituals are really powerful.
Absolutely. I've got this visual of you walking along in your outfit, going off to
Yeah,
the boxing class, looking
yeah.
for lovely as you're doing it. And
Yes,
then when you get there, it's focus. It's like, I'm going to be the best I can. Do this,
absolutely.
enjoy it, get it out because I'm looking after me.
Absolutely. I was actually at the gym this morning doing my boxing session and the trainer, like I came in, I don't know, I was just had a little bit of extra power this morning and he said, "Oh, you seem like there's a little bit of anger in there." And I said, "Oh, I'm not angry." And he goes, "Oh, no, I wouldn't say you're angry." He said, "I think you're the happiest person I know." So that's kind of how I'm reflected, but I had a lot of power this morning.
Yeah. I bet you people that are listening to this podcast will get to this point and they'll hear about all the things that you personally have dealt with in your life and go, oh my God, how can she like role after role of challenges you've had, and now hearing this part, they'll be laughing like I am, which is you are one of the happiest people I know. Like when we
Yeah.
speak, I'm always like, I don't know how you always are in this, and not in a Pollyanna way. We can
Yeah.
talk about it. Like, you are not Pollyanna about it. It's just how you manage, cope, own, process. Like, you are so good at this, and you do turn up as happy, joyful, which was my word, optimistic and resilient. So, Lou,
Yeah.
have there been others in your life that have been instrumental in your journey and getting to where you are now?
Absolutely. Well, I've already talked about my parents. So I think that my parents, in terms of resilience and strength, and they've very much shaped me. I talked about the TIO story and the leader that saw something in me, saw something beyond, you can do this. Her name was Helen, and she really taught me that sort of lesson of backing yourself and don't disqualify yourself based on not being able to tick one box.
Mm.
But then there's another leader that really comes to mind that was absolutely instrumental for me in my career, and his name was Bruce. I had spent a number of years leading the customer resolutions team, so the dispute resolution function at Transurban. And he had approached me, and he was like the COO of CityLink at the time, and he approached me to see if I'd be interested in taking on an expanded role. So I had a team of 12 and it was moving to a team of 100. And I was immediately like, absolutely no way. I can't go from that to that. That's just like, wow, that's too big. And he was saying to me, no, he said, Lou, you can do this. I know you can do this. It's just more people. This is about leadership.
Mm.
He said leadership, he didn't say it was easy, but he said it's pretty simple in terms of what you need to do. He said the most important thing that you need to do each day is to come in, say good morning to every single person, get to know their name, get to know something about them, and do the same at the end of the day. It's that simple.
Mm.
And even though it's obviously a bit more complex, but
Mm.
what he was really saying to me in that moment was that people in leadership, they want to feel seen, they want to feel heard, and they want to feel valued. And I think that lesson, though, of coming in and connecting with people on an individual,
Mm.
that would be one of my sort of signature characteristics of leadership that people who have been in my teams would comment on, and that came from Bruce. And
Mm.
this sort of meaningful connection with people. So he was somebody that really shaped me. And then there other people would be my daughters, my two daughters, Georgie and Millie, in terms of the lessons that motherhood teaches you, that you don't actually always need to have the answers, like from a leadership perspective. Sometimes it's just being there and
Mm.
supporting people and showing up. So they would be two other people in my life that I'd say have been crucial. They're the ones that just come to mind
Important
straight
people,
off.
a mix of, in your personal life and in your work life as well. Lots of
Yeah,
beautiful messages.
yeah.
So, Lou, what's ahead for Lou?
So what I'm looking forward to, I feel like right now I'm in the happiest place I've been
Mm.
in terms of the work that I'm doing, finding that purpose, like true purpose and meaning in everything that I'm doing. Like I feel just so privileged to be in this position. For me, I want to look at what opportunities. I always recognize that I'm somebody that's privileged. I've had the privilege of education. I've had the privilege of a great upbringing, and what can I do to use my privilege and influence to make things better in the world, and
Yeah.
particularly in the areas of mental health, but also in the areas of just leadership and leading people and supporting people. So continuing to work with the three organisations that I'm working with,
Mm.
which is 1 in 5, Grounded Together and Explore for Success. I'm just so thrilled at where I am right now and where that can take me.
Yeah. It's a beautiful portfolio that you have, and all of it links around that human-centered caring. And I also think your reality around owning and understanding your privilege, but therefore operating from a purposeful
Yeah,
base and place, going up there and seeing what you can do. And you and I have talked about this because we've done a few of our purpose and passion trips together with
yeah,
Explore, and we've been in other countries where people haven't got that privilege. And you and I will often head to the back of the queue and have a little bit of chat about how lucky we are. But when we're there,
absolutely.
knowing the difference that we're making, and you talked right at the very start about the benefits of travel, it does take those blinkers off, doesn't it? And it reminds us of the fortunate nature of living in a country like we do, or having
Yeah.
the lives that we have as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think travel and being exposed to disadvantage as well as
Mm.
part of those travel experiences. I think that's something that I've always been sort of drawn to is it was really understanding, deeply what's happening in the
Mm.
cultures and the countries that I'm visiting. I think the other things that has come to my mind as I say that is that in my career, I've also looked at opportunities to be able to bring that social impact and social justice to life in the roles that
Yeah.
I've had. And an example of that was at Transurban, where we had contact centres in the Philippines, and I was able
Mhm.
to get support from Transurban for an organisation over in the Philippines called Child Hope, and they did street education for children living on the
Amazing.
street. I say that story for for those people who might feel like they want to create a social impact in the roles that they have. Look for those opportunities within
Yeah.
your organisation because Transurban were brilliant at supporting me and
Mm.
supporting the organisations looking after people in the communities that they operated in.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah,
corporates do have that capacity, but it does
yeah,
need leaders like you who look for that as well, who go,
yeah,
we can do something here. So being driven and motivated to do that. Absolutely. I love
absolutely.
that. It's certainly a signature of Lou. So, Lou, wrapping this out, I'm keen to hear from you. Is there some key piece of wisdom that you would share based on your life journey and experience to date?
There's a few pieces
Mm.
of wisdom that I would share. One of them is if you have the ability to influence others, use your influence.
Mm.
I think we have a responsibility to create opportunities for others that don't disqualify yourself. So that message. If you're somebody like me, lead with your heart, like really lead with your heart. And if you're in a privileged position of being able to choose hope and choose optimism, I encourage people to choose that because, for me, hope has brought about so many opportunities and living a life where you believe that something greater is possible. That's what's driven sort of lots of possibilities for me. And that whole area of self care.
Yeah.
Self care is not a reward for good behavior, but it's a responsibility that we have when we're caring for others.
I'm scribbling furiously because they are 5 excellent pieces of wisdom, and I am going to drop all of those into our notes from today's session because I think using your influence, don't disqualify yourself, choose hope, lead with your heart, and self-care is a responsibility we have to ourselves, exemplifies how you show up. And thank you for sharing that with us today. Lou, I
Thank
have
you.
thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today. For all of our listeners, in our notes, you will find details of 1 in 5. So you can find out more about Lou's role that she chairs with that organisation that she and her family founded. I'm also going to put a link in there to Grounded Together so you can find out more about her coaching and support business, supporting carers, and a couple of other highlights from our conversation together. But from now, a little sign off from me saying thank you for joining us for Her Time, Her Place, and what I think will be episode 8. I'll be back again next Friday with another episode with another wonderful woman like Lou. Thank you.
Thank you.